Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show about cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, Senior Digital Content Producer at Fox 61 in Hartford. And this is my friend Glenn Packman. And he is a noted comedian in the tri-state area. I can say that.
Yeah,
Um, and
noted by you anyways.
yeah, anyway, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's noted, right?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'll take
You're
that.
welcome. Um, and he's a car enthusiast and my friend, my longtime friend. So, Glenn,
Mhm.
we have in the past on this program spoken highly of the fine folks from Korea, the Hyundai, Genesis, Kia folks, who I think in many respects have been figuring out how to do it and providing a role model for every other car manufacturer. So,
Mhm.
give me your thoughts on the Hyundai, Kia, Genesis products. They're all distinct lines, but
Right.
what are your thoughts about this brand?
Yeah, my thoughts are high. I'm reminded this company just reminds me of the heyday of Toyota when Toyota went from being just this cheesy, cheap Japanese brand to being the car that everybody wanted, you know.
Mhm.
And Hyundai's used to be, I mean, come on. Uh, Back when I was younger, a Hyundai was a very, very, very cheap car in many ways and
Mhm.
not well put together and everything. And they've certainly turned the company around. Hyundai acquired the old Kia, which was a terrible manufacturer of vehicles, the previous one. They've hired some key people um, to help with key departments, and they've done it right in many ways. I'm not going to say that every car they introduce is a smash hit, but I am going to say that they get most of them right. They understand their pricing strategy, which is good. They're staying competitive, and I am a Hyundai owner. We have a 2019 Hyundai Tucson, which is an altogether good car. It really is. Exceptional? No, we didn't pay an exceptional amount of money for it, but it looks sharp. It's solid as a rock. My 90-year-old dad, who still drives, loves this car. So that's saying a lot, for an old man to get in a newer make and say, wow, I love this car.
And this thing about your father, I will tell the folks at home, Harry has bought a lot of cars, a lot of
Yes.
nice cars, and
Mhm.
it's always he is not somebody who says, well, everyone's going that way, so I'm going to go that way. Harry has also like said, this is the car I want.
He knows a good car. And the only reason he stopped picking all these great cars is that he aged out and then he got comfortable driving around a Toyota Avalon from 1993 that when we sold it in 2019 to my brother, it still had less than 50,000 miles on it. So,
And we'll go another 300,000
yeah, my brother,
like
well,
every other Avalon.
yeah,
Yeah,
my brother still owns the Avalon, the 1993. So, and the only
yeah,
reason I really didn't want my dad driving it is because I don't think it had a backup camera or airbags in it.
no,
So I was
yeah.
like, I just wanted him to be in something safer and more solid. And boy, is this car solid. I digress a little bit. Uh, I like them as a mark. I see them trying hard. Uh, Lately, stylistically, I think they've fallen into the trap of doing too much on some of their vehicles.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I I'm always a fan of their more simpler designs. Like anybody who watches the show knows that I think the Telluride is just one of the sharpest cars out there. I mean, in terms of a larger SUV, I just I couldn't think of anything else I'd rather drive, and
Hmm.
it's not outrageously overdone. Um,
Hmm.
Kia's electrics, I don't care for. They even the EV9, which is just sort of a Telluride, but with a lot of tarted up EV style points put on
Yeah.
it. But they are coming out with the EV3, which is a little bit more boxy and sort of pulling it back
Hmm.
and promising. So, yeah, there's some misses. I think most of all, it's a hit. And I will say that the Genesis line is is my idea of a luxury line that's definitely aiming for a youthful market. And man,
Hmm.
they make some pretty cars. Their sedans
Hmm.
are gorgeous. They really are. Yeah. And
Yeah.
frankly, I just saw up close the GV60, which is their littler electric SUV.
Right. Right. Right.
And it doesn't look so great in photos. It never stood out to me, but when I got next to one of them, it's really sharp. It's a lot of money for a car that size, but it really is. I mean, it's a standout. It's a looker, and it's like
Right.
I literally was like, I don't even know what car this is, and then I just took a closer look, and
Yeah.
so I stopped in a parking lot to take a look at this car, and isn't that the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think when it comes down, they know how to do what I would refer to as touch points. Like, when
yeah,
you look at how their transmission selector is, it's on the Genesis with the crystal and the ball that flips around, and and all those things, and the Genesis design language. I'm not a fan of the huge grill, but that's what they do, and but everything else around that, and I think it fits the car,
yeah.
but that two stripe headlight, around the car to the tail light, those
Mhm.
SUVs that they have, the CUVs and whatever you want to call them, really, really do, speak really well.
Yeah, yeah,
The Yeah, I would agree. Some of the designs are like, uh, uh,
yeah,
okay, but
yeah,
that said, people buy them,
right.
and here's this is my. It's not a beef. And I'll own that some of this is my stuff. I always get confused which ones are Kias and which ones are Hyundais. So I don't know, is that I think they're aimed towards very similar markets, and
Yeah,
where GM, a Chevy is different from a Buick, is different from a Cadillac, and you understand that kind of structure. And I don't know. I mean, Genesis sits at the top of the heap, but I don't know, is there's a whole lot of differentiation between a Kia and a Hyundai.
yeah,
And maybe that's me, right?
yeah.
But I sit there and think, okay, which the Seltos is a Kia, right?
Kia, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and but then I go, the Kona, it must be a Hyundai because I don't think
Hyundai,
they'd have two Kia Kona. It's not going to do
right.
that.
No,
And I will go back to one of my favorite things that I've said on this. Is like, when you get the Kona in white, it looks like a stormtrooper. Um,
it does. It
yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Even yeah, the new generation still. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, more, yeah.
But
But so, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, all stormtrooper jokes aside, Kona's a great little car. I mean, they definitely came out with something that people wanted to buy, and
At
that's
a
saying a
good
lot
price
because
point.
we're not. Yes, good price point and a lot of car for the money. And we're not really thriving on small cars right now, and
Yeah.
that Hyundai and Kia are both making small cars that people want to buy is a
Mhm.
great thing. I honestly think if you are talking strictly about the best value car out there, if the styling is okay by you, the Kia Soul is an amazing car. It's much bigger on the inside than the outside, hauls a lot of stuff, and it starts at what, 22, I think. I
Something
mean,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, it's been around for a while. They've worked out all the bugs. It's just that it's got that funky wagonette kind of
Hmm.
little, it's a Kia Soul. It is what it is. And some people are going to go, I will never drive that, and other people are dying to get in one. So, and that's okay. That's good. I like that they make a couple polarizing models in all of this. It's okay to have that. Some people think the EV6 is absolutely gorgeous. I think it looks like the spaceship that landed.
Hmm.
It's not my favorite, but that's okay. They still have others in the lineup. Frankly, one of the cars at the very top of my list as a replacement vehicle for when our BMW ages out, because we need something. small enough to fit in our diminutive garage. But the Kia
I was good.
Niro,
Yeah.
the Niro is definitely on our list,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it's you know, again, looking at pictures, I was like, no, and then I saw one, and I was like, wait a minute, that's kind of cool, you
Hmm.
know, and it is in a very offbeat kind of way, and that's Kia is a little bit more sporty and a little bit more offbeat. Hyundai is the more grounded model. I'm not a huge fan of their origami design that language that they've been
Hmm.
going for lately. I think they I think they took a pretty car in the Elantra and then just overdid it. So,
Hmm.
Hyundai, if you're listening, pull it back a little.
Hmm.
Um, but I can't argue with the fact that they're good cars. They're competing for real with their competitors, with
Yeah.
Nissan, Toyota, and Honda. You know,
Hmm. And
and they're
Mazda. Yeah.
yeah, and Mazda, and they're probably cheaper than all of them,
Yeah.
still to this day. So it, I just, when we were looking to replace my dad's car, I did a quick review of SUVs in that class, and I very quickly realized we were getting way more for the money with the Tucson than we
Yeah.
were with any of the others, and that's why it's in our garage to this day. So
Yeah. I
2019, and it just hit 13,000 miles. It's going to be 6 years old.
wow.
13. My dad does a lot of driving.
A lot of driving. I would say that the challenges that they have is they don't have any heavy duty options. I mean, they're not making a pickup truck. They don't have any kind of, yeah. Well, okay,
The
yeah,
Santa Cruz, which is sort of pickup truck light. Yeah, but
yeah.
yeah. Not,
Okay,
well,
sure.
it's a pickup truck.
By the strictest definition, it is a pickup truck. It's a
Right,
vehicle with a bed on the back that's open for the large part.
right,
But
right, right. It's a
I,
Tucson with an open back
yeah,
rather than a hatch, right?
there's not the Venn diagrams of F-150 drivers,
Right.
shoppers, and Santa Cruz are not overlapping.
There,
There's a lot of cross shop there.
no, but
Um,
it's gonna definitely take on the Ford Maverick, one of
yeah.
our favorite little cars. That's
Mhm.
definitely of the same class. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not gonna hit
That
the
but
block.
that heavier duty, right.
Correct. Yeah.
um I think their dealers um need some back to school about how to treat customers.
Oh,
That I say this only from anecdotal evidence, that when I've talked to people about their dealer experience, they're not glowing for the most part,
right.
in many cases. And this is a sample size of probably five, but
Mhm.
still significant, and geographically, you around the not just one area of the country or the other. The other thing is, I sense that there are some long-term quality problems with the mechanicals, right?
Mhm.
That's the read I get. And where, for the most part, a Toyota is just going to run and run and run and
Mhm.
run and, but I don't know if you're going to get that out of Kia Hyundai.
That's a it's a valid question. We got up close to gosh, I forget how many miles we've had two Kias, two Sorrentos, and when we went off lease on the first, we decided to roll into the newer generation, which I'm very glad we did because the old one was a perfectly fine car. The newer one was just that much better. But
Hmm.
the older one was starting to develop a weird clunk in the transmission that I thought was very
Hmm.
off-putting, and it happened right when it was coming to the end of the lease, and I thought this is a good time to
Hmm.
just roll it over. So technically, we've had no real issues, but you're talking to the wrong person here because I don't own cars past a certain mark. Serious, our
Yeah,
our
ladies and
BMW,
gentlemen, he does not.
I do not. It's a long story that involves a lot of emotional stuff about me owning used cars that were possessed by Satan and wanting to kill me. Um, we
I, I
laughed.
I will I will make a
Uh,
note of which of the episode where Glenn talks about his Audi experience.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm happy owning a newer car and blowing the money. Hey, it
You don't have
means
to think about it. If you don't have
right
to think about it, that's fine.
precisely. And for literally the past 35 years, I, never had to really worry about a car being fixed.
Yep.
And so I'm a bad person to talk about this. Our BMW just rolled over 53,000, so I'm already just putting in my mind that within a year it'll be gone. And frankly, terrific little car, really enjoyed it, but I do not want to own this car when it's older. It's going to be ridiculously expensive to repair. And nope. So, we actually have equity in the car.
Yeah.
It will be sold. And so that's why I brought up the Kia before, the Niro. So that might be a good option for us. We will see. We'll do a whole episode of when I get a new car. Trust me.
Oh, we will go out and be on scene live with
Yes.
now
Yeah.
we won't be
Yes.
live, but we'll
Yes.
be
Yeah.
out of our Zoom studio.
Yeah. 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 That's something we have to do is like go outside, because
Yeah.
here's my office, but,
Yeah, yeah.
but either way,
If I
yeah.
were a little if I were a little bit more ambitious for when we went to the Greenwich Auto Show, we would have.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's sweaty. I will look sweaty. I don't want to.
Yeah, it was
Anyway,
warm. But you make
yeah.
a very good point about the longevity of the Hyundai
Mhm.
brand. I don't think they're garbage. I don't think it's gonna
No,
be it falls apart underneath you. But have they hit Toyota, Honda levels of quality?
mm.
I'm gonna say maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it
TBD.
depends on. It probably depends on the model and
Yeah, yeah,
how long
yeah.
that's been around and stuff like that. Uh,
I'm just
But
I'm
yeah,
just impressed with when Genesis came out with their Mercedes, sorry, the BMW 3 Series fighter that they introduced. That all of the auto magazines were like, wait a minute, what? This car is
mhm,
actually competing with the 3 Series and beating it in many ways,
mhm.
specifically price. And it's a gorgeous car. That's the G70,
Sure,
G7, I
we'll
think.
go with that.
Okay. The
We'll go
smaller,
with
the
that.
smaller sedan. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
I think it's the G70. So
and
again,
and yeah,
numericals, but
yeah.
yeah.
But I think that they went to the library and they got out the Lexus playbook
Mhm.
from the late 80s, early 90s, and step by step, you know,
Right.
this is how and you're right, when they were around in the mid 80s, those were, that was the cheap end of the market, which, that's where they were for a long time. And Kia was the same thing. It was cheap and cheerful, as they said on
Yep.
Top Gear.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Right.
all right.
Right.
That's going to do it for another week of Car-Pinionated. Our usual housekeeping things here. Uh, find us on YouTube. If you're not already there, give us a like and a subscribe. It helps out our algorithm to be seen by more people. I'm cutting in here to say that I ran into an interesting car last weekend at the Manchester Cruising on Main Street Auto Show, and so I talked to its owner.
Mike Dobush. I'm from Coventry, Connecticut. I've got a 1985 Subaru Brat that was imported in the country. Most people don't realize to beat the chicken tax. It came with rear seats, so that it was actually classified as a car rather than a truck. I have the camper, and then I have a go-kart that was also as a promotional item that the dealers had back in the 80s that they raffled off. There was one go-kart for every state, and that happens to be number 38. I've had it 7 years.
Okay.
Some people have never heard of it, and other people are like, oh yeah, I knew somebody that had one, or I had one, so it's kind of a funny thing. Some people know them, so other people have no idea.
Right.
They think it's something that was just imported recently. My son, he does car shows with it. He goes camping with his friends. People haven't seen one before. It's a unique vehicle. It'll go anywhere.
And that will be it for this week. Good night.